One of the things that you brought up is that meaning is ultimately about connection. And I brought up this whole area of religion or some transcendent belief because a lot of times what I'm finding people are missing most of is the community that they were once part of. And we see this in work settings. My grandfather worked for Kraft for almost 50 years, knew the people that he worked with inside and out. They were his support system, his friends. Most people today are changing jobs every few years, if not sooner than that. And so our work environments are no longer the same as they were for decades. And then you put on that, what we were talking about before with people leaving church communities, Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, you name it. Why do you think society has been abandoning so many of these community structures that for I think it's millennia were at the core of what brought people meaning in their lives?
That's a great question. Well, I would say on the one hand, worldwide, you do see that most countries in the world have become more individualistic over the past few decades. So this does seem to be a worldwide trend where in becoming more individualistic, that means that they're prioritizing their needs and desires as an individual over the obligations that they have towards their groups, towards a collective. We're seeing this general change. Part of this usually comes with greater wealth. That it's a loose correlation. It's not a particularly strong correlation, but on average, when most societies get wealthier, they tend to become more individualistic. So I think that's part of it. I think more, though, that explains this is these new technologies that seem very satisfying while we use them, like being online on our phone. It feels satisfying enough that it distracts us and we turn to our devices to pass the time. And these devices really are entertaining ourselves, that we no longer are dependent upon our interpersonal community to entertain ourselves. And I think this first started off with the emergence of television, where you could entertain yourself at home. And then this has just accelerated over time as there's so many ways to pass the time without involving our neighbors. And the Harvard political scientist Robert Putnam, that's what he found to be the largest explanation of why Americans were less tied to their communities in the 1990s than they were in the 1950s, was that they were really exchanging time with other people for watching television. And I think that is just accelerated now. And I suffer from this as much as anyone. And just realizing now that whenever there's a couple minutes where you're out for dinner with someone, they step out to use the washroom or something, what do I do with those couple minutes? Well, turn on the phone. And then automatically, it's almost like a reflex, this bad habit of always turning on the phone to entertain myself, and just realizing that this has become such a habit that it's taking us away from real relationships. And this is what a growing amount of research is showing, that these real relationships really seem to matter. And one of my PhD students, Dunnigan Folk, he's been looking at how this new growing trend, which I think is a disturbing trend, where people turning to their phones, not just as a means to connect with others, but as a means to connect with these AI chatbots, where you have a virtual friend. And what his research is suggesting, while this may be satisfying in the short term, in the long term, it seems to just, along with everything else, seems to be making people lonelier. These virtual things that our devices can do, this the kind of entertainment, it's not a good imitation. It's not a good substitute for real people. That we grew up, we're a social species. We need to be connected with others, and being connected with your phone isn't a good enough substitute.